e4, and then the Scandinavian. You played knight c3. Obviously now you already know what's the best move here.
To take it.
Yeah, just take the pawn. This is the easiest. But okay, in the game knight c3, he plays c5. I mean, she plays c5. You take, obviously, best move. And then g6, you develop. Okay, you open up the center. This move is actually, I think, the best. Obviously, maybe giving a check also just to develop the bishop, but this move is still fine because you still open up the bishop. Because the reason why you can play d4 instead of d3 before developing this bishop is because when you play d4, this diagonal is still open, right? Because if you play d3, then you cannot develop the bishop. But if you play d4, then this diagonal is open and also this one, right? So that's why d4 is really good here. Okay, so d4, and then e6, you takes back, develop. So why is a check in this position a good move, and usually it's not, but in this position it is? Why is that?
So normally what I would think is like, okay, if I put him in check with my bishop, he's just going to push me out with his pawn.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like why I probably wouldn't play it. So then, or his knight, or why is it a good move in here?
So in this position, the reason is he doesn't have a pawn here, and also he cannot block with the knight on this square because you take with a pawn, right? So if you deliver a check, he has to block with the knight on this square. That's why the check here is better. I mean, the check here is a good move compared to usually when they can just block or develop the knight and defend. Obviously here they can also develop the knight, but then maybe you can take, right? Let's say they take back, as if they take back with a pawn, then obviously the structure is just terrible. Let's say bishop takes, and then you just castle, and you're gonna develop the pieces, right? You can also develop this one with tempo. If they play f6, then even more weaknesses in the pawns, right? So let's say you develop the bishop, develop the rook, and you're just winning, even though you're only up one pawn, but you just have so much more development. But okay, bishop c4 is still perfectly fine move. Develops the queen, and you castle. Yeah, best move to defend. Knight to d7, and then okay, you blunder this idea. So this is annoying, right?
Yeah.
This battery. So how can you get rid of, let's say, the bishop and the queen, actually? I mean, how can you trade one of your pieces for the bishop, force the trade? Is there a move that can do that?
Yeah, maybe knight to d4.
Knight to d4. I mean this one.
Or the other. Yeah, okay, but you didn't like that, so...
yeah, why is this a bad move?
Why is this a bad move? This is a bad move because...
So just calculate. What happens if he takes?
Gotcha, okay, I don't have enough defending squares.
Yeah, he just takes and it's free, right?
It's free, okay. So, then... I'm looking at the pawn, but the pawn on b2 can't push that because that's also an uneven trade.
What about this knight?
Oh, you can fork. You can fork his piece.
Knight
oh,
A4.
I didn't even see that.
This is always
Wow.
an idea. So this is just a pattern again. Knight a4. This is in a lot of positions. This is the answer to this battery, because then like he moves the queen, doesn't matter where. Let's say here or here, and you just take, right? And now this is not a problem anymore. Obviously, first you have to defend your bishop, so maybe a move like queen to e2, or just drop it back, totally fine as well. Defending also this pawn actually, and then just develop, just continue developing. Let's say in this position, what would be the best developing move?
Okay. In this position, the best developing move would be bishop to g5.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. So putting pressure on the knight and developing a piece. Also rook e1 or even, let's say, bishop e3 attacking the queen, right? So you develop and attack.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so, okay, but you blunder this move, and then you blunder it again.
Yeah.
And then he plays this move, so knight to e4. In the game, this was the best move, yeah. But let's say this wasn't an option, right? Let's say, okay, but I can't, because if I play this move, then this knight is developed. Just let's say that this square is defended, right? What would be the best move if this wasn't an option?
Yeah, I think
So what's the issue in this position?
the issue is my rook's not protected. So I mean, I would maybe is it to trade the knight to
take?
To take, yeah.
So what would happen if you take?
I take the knight, he takes with the bishop, I take with the other knight.
And what do you gain from this trade? So takes, takes, takes. What do you lose and what do you gain?
I gain some development, but I lose some points on the rook.
So you gave away a rook for what?
I gave away a rook for...
So takes, takes, takes.
I mean for a knight and a bishop.
Yep. So what's the material count then? Knight and bishop are worth how much?
6 points.
And the rook?
6 points.
5 points.
5 points.
Yeah. So you actually gain, even though it seems like you're sacrificing a rook, right? Because it's 2 pieces for a rook. But even even let's say this move, right? Just getting the rook out of the attack. This is also a good move. But yeah, obviously you played check, and then what's the
and I missed the mate. Yeah, I missed the mate.
What's the mate?
Queen. It's queen to f7.
Yep, queen to f7. But okay, he moves away. You give this check. He takes back. And now you throw in this knight. Did you even see that the queen was hanging?
No.
Yeah. So obviously, because the point was you pushed the pawn and you opened up. So this was kind of a discovered attack on your queen. And then it kind of worked out because this one also attacked your queen.
Yeah, I didn't see.
Yeah.
Like moving my own pawn was a discovered attack on myself. Like normally, like I'll do discovered attacks on other people, but I wouldn't think like that I would move a piece and then that would create a discovered attack for them. That's I think that's the thing that I don't think about very often.
So always, if you're in this position, so this position is really chaotic, right? So like a lot of chaos going on.
Right.
Here you should pause. You should take a lot of time. First, you just check all of your pieces, which pieces are hanging, and then you also check for the opponent, which of the opponent's pieces are hanging. So in this position, your queen is hanging and your rook is hanging, right? And which pieces are hanging for your opponent? Which pieces can you take? Or let's say, which pieces do not have sufficient defenders?
Sure, yeah, I think it's just the knight.
Yeah, just the knight. Obviously, the rooks are also undefended, but you're not attacking them, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, so what would be... Which piece should you move in this position, first of all?
I mean, I have to move the queen because it's hanging.
Yeah, because the queen is the most important, so you have to move the queen. Where can you move the queen?
I mean, I'm right off the bat, I'm looking at b5.
Okay, yeah, that's a good move. So just get out of the way, and you also offer a queen trade, right?
Right.
So just queen b5, and let's say, I don't know, he takes, you just take back with any piece, doesn't matter. Probably, no, I mean it doesn't, because the knight is also defended, so yeah, maybe the knight.
Or take the knight, and then you can maybe attack the
the computer, yeah, the computer doesn't like it.
It doesn't want me. It doesn't want me to take their queen.
Oh, because it wants this check. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's the reason. But okay, I mean, nobody is gonna see that, especially at 400 elo. So yeah, just take back. But okay, knight to d5, and then he takes your queen. You take the queen. He takes back. Why was this move a mistake for him? What can he do better than taking back with the pawn?
Yeah, better than taking back with the pawn. I mean, my rook is still hanging now, and now I don't have it defended. So I mean, taking the rook.
Okay, but if he takes your rook, which move do you have after that?
Oh, I mean, I can take it with the knight, I guess, or just the king.
What else? So your knight is hanging, right? So takes, your knight is hanging, and let's say this bishop is hanging for him. Can you move the knight so that you gain something and then you recapture back the bishop?
Or yeah, you can put him in check and take the bishop.
So this is the reason why this is not the best move. Because you can take in check. Yes, he can move the king and attack your knight, but you already gained the bishop, right?
You're right.
So he moves, you take, he takes, let's say.
Okay, so taking the bishop was, or taking the rook was not a good move for him.
Yeah.
But then taking the knight is, you're saying with the pawn is still not a good move for him?
So what would be the best move?
Okay.
There is only one move left. So he can take the rook, or he can take the knight with the pawn. What else can he take?
I'm just having to look at it a little bit longer.
You have to look at the whole board. So
yeah,
this bishop doesn't have anything. This knight, nothing. This knight, nothing. This rook also nothing. This rook also nothing. So there is only one piece left.
Yeah, the bishop. Oh, just take it with the bishop.
Yep,
take it with the bishop. Oh
yep.
Gosh,
this one. And you know why? Because when you then remove the knight, so in the game you remove the knight, and now this bishop is hanging. That's the issue. Now he has to move it anyways, right?
Got it.
So that's why this would be
advanced. Okay.
And obviously also he has to take the knight, because otherwise you can take the rook or the bishop. So he has to take, and yeah, the bishop take is the best. Okay, so then yeah, so pawn takes was in the game. You take the knight, which is correct. He moves the bishop, which is correct. You throw in this check, which is a great move, developing with check. And also notice that this move defended the knight. So that was a good move for him. Or I guess that was the only move he had, because he cannot move the bishop anywhere else. Because everything is defended, right? So I guess this was his only move. But okay. He moves the king, and now what's the downside of moving the king over here? So what tactic, or it's not a tactic, it's just an
susceptible to being backranked?
Yeah, no. So it's a unpleasant situation for him now. Why? Yeah, obviously back rank is weak, but you cannot really exploit it right now because he has 2 rooks there, so...
Right. It's unpleasant for him because now I can move my bishop in.
This move, you mean?
Yeah, bishop to g7.
Yeah, this is also a reason, but okay, let's say he can just move, right? So the reason why it's unpleasant is because of this pin.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That's the reason. Because he walked into a pin. Because if he went here, yes, the king is kinda cut off and this rook is misplaced, but at least he's not in a pin, right? Because let's say now he can just move the knight, move the bishop back, so move the knight, move the bishop back, you trade, then he moves his king out and then he gets the rook out. So that's how he could untangle. But now the knight is pinned. I mean, yes, I guess he can walk this way, but yeah, the knight is the knight is pinned. That's the issue. And now this is a great move, like putting more pressure on the knight. And then he takes. Obviously, you take back the rook because it's just a free rook. He gives a check, and this is now a problem because you don't have any squares, so you have to block or take the piece, but obviously you cannot take the piece, so the only other move is to block. In the game you did pawn c4, which is a great move. This one was maybe a bit better because you want to trade the bishops off, because this one, yes, it blocks the bishop, but it kind of blocks your own piece in too, but it's still fine. Like this is a perfectly good move. He moves back, and now this move. So here I saw that you didn't really know what to do, so you just played this move because it kind of gets closer to the king, and it worked because you provoked this move and now you have this square. But what would be a better move in this position than moving this knight?
Taking his knight with a rook. Yeah.
If you take, he just takes and you don't have anything.
Okay, maybe I looked at that and that's probably why I didn't play it. So
so how can you put more pressure on this knight? Because it's pinned, so it cannot move.
Even more pressure. Wait, okay, bishop to g5.
Yep, bishop g5. So actually this move does work but only if you take and he takes back and then you follow up with bishop g5, right? Because then you're gonna win the bishop back.
And you have another pin, okay.
Yeah, but bishop g5 right away is probably the best, because then you're gonna take, he takes, and you take, right? And you get what? What's the material count after you take, he takes, and then you take? What do you gain and what do you lose from this trade?
Yeah, so it would be one bishop for a bishop and a knight. Yep,
so you gain a piece. So yeah, just put more pressure on the pin. That was the best move here. But okay, knight g5, he plays this move, which, I mean, I guess he's also out of moves. Maybe moving the king was better, just to get out of the pin. But then obviously this pawn is lost. I guess, yeah, he can move here. Let's say you take, you attack the rook, and then he just moves away or something. But okay, he played this move. Now you jump in. He plays here. You play this move, which is great, because also this move, with this move now you can also take this pawn. Let's say he moves the rook, you can take this pawn, and now if he moves the knight, you have some discover check, because you can move this knight now with check, right? If he doesn't move, then he's just gonna lose the knight, because you're gonna move your knight away and then just take, right? With the bishop, and then bishop takes, and then you take. But in the game, he takes, and now what would be the best move? Because in the game you played knight to c7.
Yeah, which is funny because I was like, okay, this is a great move because I'm gonna force the bishop and the king. which is a blunder.
I mean, it's
a blunder.
If you actually see it, if you look at the computer evaluation, like here it's almost plus 10. After you check, it's still almost plus 10, right? Because computer sees that, yeah, this is not an issue because you're gonna take and you're gonna play all perfect moves. But no, actually, this is just a full piece blunder, right? So that's why looking at a computer sometimes isn't helpful, because computer sees that after, let's say you take with he takes back, you take with check, and then you take the rook, right? That's the reason why it's not an issue. But you're not gonna see that, right? So that's why, I mean, yeah, this is basically just a piece hang. So what would be a better move?
Okay, yeah, sure. So, just to take the rook?
Yep, just take the rook. That's the simplest move and the best move. I mean,
I think I said that actually. I think I said that in the game. I was like, I blundered a piece and I should have just taken the rook.
Yep. Okay, but in the game he moves the king, and then you take the bishop. What would be a better move than taking the bishop?
Okay, yeah. So, because I was looking at, okay, I blundered the knight and he didn't take it. So let me free up the knight and take a piece with it. At least I got something out of it.
Because here you can get even more out of the position.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see this before, but now I'm seeing that because I have the rooks doubled up, I can actually just take the knight with the rook.
So you can take with check, and the important detail is that you defend the knight. Yes, he still has two attackers, but in this current position he has to move the king, so he cannot take. So he has to move the king, right? And then you probably just take the rook. Yeah, you just take the rook. He takes back, and then obviously check and so on.
So like, let's say from the check, or let's say you take it, you take the rook, and then he moves, he moves back, and then you take the other rook.
Yeah.
And how would you then like think about this position? Is this just checkmate, or how?
So what I would do is I would take this pawn and get the other rook in.
Okay.
And then just try to, obviously let's say I take, okay, he's probably gonna move here to block my other rook, right? I would go here, attacking this pawn, because obviously I can also just move and get in, but I want to get rid of this bishop. And now he has to make a choice. He can either trade, which is not good because then he's gonna trade one more piece, or he can move away, which lets my rook in. So for example, he moves away. Obviously, if he goes here, then he just mate, right? So he has to, I don't even know. Here? No, but this is still mate. No, it's not, because he can block. But now he's all tied up, so he has to probably move the bishop he has to keep the bishop here, right? And allow take, right? And then obviously, again, if he moves, it's still unpleasant. So the reason this is bad is because moves the bishop, I check, he moves, and now how do you win this bishop?
Okay, yeah, this is interesting. How do you win this bishop?
So again, what's the unpleasant thing about this position for him?
That the bishop's pinned?
Yep, it's pinned.
Okay.
So there are two ways to put more pressure. Which two ways are there?
I think you can take the pawn on f6 with the bishop. And pressures.
And the other one? So this would work,
yeah? The other one is to... take with the rook? You take the pawn with the rook?
No, you move this rook where? How do you increase the number of attackers with this rook?
Put it on f8?
Yep. f8.
Gotcha.
But which move is better, this one or this one?
The first one I would see is the bishop one.
Why? Why is this one better than this one?
Because it wins the bishop, right?
They both win the bishop. This one also, because now you're gonna take.
Then you don't have to trade a rook.
No.
Or do you trade a rook on the other way?
Because
no, you don't.
You just take. And
Okay.
he cannot do anything. So the reason this one is better is because you do not let the king out. Because this rook is cutting the king, so the king cannot go out.
Gotcha.
If you move this rook, now he can run towards the center. That's the reason. So if you take this way, I mean, I don't even see, it says mate in 5. Oh, I guess he can, yeah, I guess he can hide here. But obviously check. And now he has this little fortress. How would you break this fortress apart? So the bishop is defending the pawn is defending the bishop, the king is defending this pawn. So how would you break through in this position?
My first thought is
and don't look for mate in 4, because even I don't see mate in 4.
Okay. Yeah, I would think to like double the rooks and then push the rooks in.
Where? So what?
I mean, I would say it on the. I would think they do it on the 8th rank, but
so
I feel like
one.
that. Yeah, that's what what.
Yeah, that's actually
out to me.
Yeah, that's actually the best move, because what's the threat?
The threat is rook d8 to a8.
Yeah, actually it's not the best move, but yeah, I would play that, because the point is now he has to make a move, a room for his king, right? So he has to either push the pawn or lose the bishop actually. So takes, for example, right? But probably he would push the pawn. Now, which move would you make now in this position?
Yeah, I mean, I maybe a bishop to d4.
Yep, bishop d4. Take away the escape square. Now, you have to always be careful about the stalemates, right? Why is stalemate not an issue in this position?
Stalemate is not an issue in this position because there's no open squares for the king to go.
No, so stalemate is when, let's say, in this position, if he had no moves, no legal moves, and the king is not in check, this would be a stalemate. So basically, stalemate happens when the king is boxed in. That's the most common way. Actually, that's the only way it can happen, when the king is boxed in, but it's not in check. But why is it not an issue in this position?
In this position? Because you have...
Because of this pawn. Because he can always make legal moves with his pawn.
Oh, okay, yeah. I would have never guessed that.
That's the reason. So if you're in a position where you're struggling kind of to find a checkmate, unless you're extremely low on time, in that case you should take the pawns. So let's say if it was only the king, right? Then you should leave, let's say, one pawn if it has legal moves. If it doesn't, let's say if your bishop was on this square, or let's say if your pawn was over here, then you should take it, because it doesn't matter. Because if the pawn is blocked, then it cannot make any legal moves. So it's the same thing if it's on the board or off the board, right?
Gotcha.
So yeah, if you're low on time, you should take all of the pawns, because then if you lose on time, so if you ran out of time, then it's gonna be a draw. But if he has one pawn left, then it's a win for him, because technically he can promote and get a queen and checkmate you.
Got it.
So if you're not low on time, just let the pawn leave. If it has, because here it's perfect because it's also blocked, right? it only has 3 legal moves, and then it's stopped by your pawn. So you don't even have to worry about it. For example, if your king was here, still not an issue, because the pawn cannot break through, right? Yeah, so this move, check. He has to go here. Now what? Or actually, yeah, has to go here, yeah, only move.
Okay.
So now what?
So yeah, I
would
mean,
you
yeah, rook to a8.
Okay, this would work, yeah, but better move. So you should look at, okay, the king is now, it cannot go here, right? Because
okay.
both pieces, and you're already covering this row.
So now he's really boxed in. So now you can just bring one of the rooks up.
Yep, just
rank.
one, doesn't matter which one. He has to block. Now what? So what's the unpleasant thing in this position for him?
Typically when you say unpleasant, there's usually a pin. I mean, the pawn is pinned. The rook is, or
the bishop is pinned. So how do you increase the pressure?
To increase the pressure, you put another piece that attacks the bishop, right? So the only other piece that I can see that will attack the bishop is the other rook.
So which move?
Maybe rook d8 to d7?
Yep. This one, attacking the bishop. Now, I don't know, doesn't matter. Let's say he moves here. Because obviously if he moves to this square, you're just gonna take. So let me show you. You take, let's say he moves away. Now you slide the rook back.
So you can attack it and then...
Yeah, the reason is you're gonna ladder checkmate him, right? He has to, let's say, move the king or move the pawn, doesn't matter. And then you just mate.
And then you ladder check, okay.
Yeah. But let's say he goes down. Now what?
Okay, so I always miss the pins, and I don't see a pin in this situation, so I'm going to forget about that. That's going to...
Just the simplest move. You don't have to... Obviously here the best move is probably this. No, it's not. I was thinking this move. But yeah, this also works to restrict the king. But what's the simplest move?
Yeah, rook takes b7?
Yeah, just take the bishop. And okay, this is actually the best move. Oh, I guess because you have check and mate. Maybe. Let's say... But I don't still see how it's forced mating too. Let's say he takes... Oh yeah, now I see it. Okay. Let's say he moves here. Now you have... Oh, because you have this mate. Okay. So actually even I'm learning in this position. Yeah, so you take the bishop. Let's say he takes. What's the simplest move? So what move would you play?
Rook to a7?
Yep, this is fine. Now he moves. Now, so this is now a complicated situation, right? Because you don't really see the checkmate. So the simplest thing in this position, move the bishops out of the way. Actually, the best thing is probably to sacrifice this bishop for the pawn. He takes, move the bishop out of the way. Then
simplify the situation.
Yeah, just simplify. Because okay, now the bishop still has a scope. So what you can also do is just move the king to block the bishop, so there is no chance of stalemate, right? Let's say let's say he moves the pawn. Now let's say you move the king, so you block the bishop, no chance of stalemate. Attacks your pawn. How are you gonna attack this pawn? What's the best move? Is it this one or this one?
From behind the pawn.
Yeah, from behind. Because if you go from the side, then he can push, right? And you're just gonna chase the pawn. So yeah, from behind. Let's say he takes, you take. he goes here. How are you gonna win this pawn?
Do you use one rook to block the fourth rank?
Okay, yeah, that would also work. The easiest thing, put both rooks behind the pawn and he cannot defend it.
Gotcha.
It doesn't matter what he does. Let's say this move here, push, take, right? And now we have two rooks and you have an empty board, so this should be easy. Now I'm gonna play black and you just say moves for white. So this way you're also gonna practice coordinates.
Yeah, okay. Rook to b5.
Which one? So if both rooks can move to the same square, you should specify with the rank on which the rook is. So for example, if this move you say rook 7, because it's on the 7th rank, to b5, right? Or rook 4 to b5.
Okay. Yeah, so rook 7 to b5.
Okay.
Maybe rook b5 to h5.
Yep. Move the rook as far away as possible, so I cannot attack it. I mean, it takes time. Okay, now what? So now
rook b4 to b5.
This one doesn't do anything, right? You have to. So you have a box. How do you restrict the box?
You have to move it up, but you can't move it up because they'll just move backwards.
Yeah, if you move this rook, he just moves back. So which rook do you use?
Okay, so a rook b4 to b6.
What you can also do, so this works, yeah, I go back, is you do the same technique as with the queen and the rook, only the difference here is that you should be careful because he can take your rook. So let's say you move here, I move check here, okay, now you cannot check, so you just move all the way to this side, move this rook, let's say okay, but this is not efficient. Yeah, you just check here, but even this would work, right? You just move, check here, okay, now I can take again, move this rook away, move this rook, and then mate, right? So this would work, but obviously this is more efficient if you do not move both rooks to the other side. So check, I go here.
Right.
Now what?
And now rook b6 to g6.
Yep.
Yeah, and now rook h5 to h7. Rook g6 to g7's mate.
Yeah.
Or sorry, g8 is mate.
To g8, yeah, it's mate. So here you can also just say rook to g8 because only this rook can go to g8, right? Because this one cannot go. But yeah, this is how you finish the game. So as you see, the mate was like mate in 20, but the computer in this position is saying mate in 3, right? But we did it in 20 moves. But it doesn't matter, it was mate anyways, right? So this is how you win. Just simplify the position as much as you can. Yeah, so this was what happened in the game. Oh yeah, so here you took the bishop. Yeah, what was the better move in this position once again?
To move the to move the rook up and place a pin. Or no, it's not a pin. Is that a pin? You just put the rook e4 to e7.
Yeah, just take the knight and defend your knight. I guess this is called an X-ray defense because you kind of X-ray, X-ray to the knight. And now what? Which piece should you take?
Yeah, so now taking the rook
So you
on
have two
h8.
options. Yeah, taking the rook is better. Just take the rook, because he cannot even move the bishop, so you're gonna be guaranteed to exchange the knight for the bishop. And then he only has this bishop left, and you just find a trade. So yeah, this is how we did the game. How did the game go? Oh yeah, the game ended in this position. So basically the same thing, but it wasn't as
Best way to get
yeah,
there.
the best way, yeah.